moving to your team, Chris, who knew when Brad Stevens walked off that court last night as the Celtics get eliminated by the Nets that it would be, for all intents and purposes, his last game as the head coach of the Boston Celtics. The Woj bomb today started about an hour ago, a little more than an hour ago, with Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN saying that Danny Ainge is expected to step down after 26 seasons in the front office, president of basketball operations for the Boston Celtics. And then Brad Stevens is moving on up. He's the one taking over for Danny Ainge, leaving the question as to who takes over for Brad Stevens. And on behalf of the rest of the NBA, who sees the Celtics come out of timeouts prepared to score successfully more often than not because of what's being cooked up on a magnetic board or a grease board by Brad Stevens. Thank you, Boston Celtics, for this maneuver. And I know that the Celtics are less than and have been disappointing in the last couple years or 2-3 years, but hey, you know, maybe that's why Ainge is stepping down, because there's no super team there. They're not going shopping for groceries like everybody else, and there's no superstar there that's concocting a way to get somebody like Anthony Davis on the team or Kevin Durant on the team or James Harden to the club. They're just trying to build it with young stars, one of whom got injured for the season right before the playoffs, where it didn't look like they'd make a deep run anyway. And so thus, who wants to coach two kids 25 and under, and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and the rest of that team that Danny Ainge has put together with Kemba Walker, who I think I saw your lovely mother of your child tweet out a terrific tweet today.
Yeah.
Sarah Tiana tweeted out Kemba Walker cutting down the Nets, beating Butler back in the day.
Yeah, ended Brad Stevens' coaching career twice.
Which is one way to put it. The other way is I would love to, can't wait for, it will be fork and knife out, napkin tucked into my chin, under my chin in my shirt. Can't wait for that pre-round 2 Zoom with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie, your thoughts on Danny Ainge no longer being in charge of the Boston Celtics, and now your old head coach now being in charge, and your team was the one who ended that reign in Boston. Your thoughts, Kyrie Irving. Will he take any sort of veiled shot? Will he go higher ground, highbrow? Will he go highbrow and say, yeah, I've already turned the page? You're like, who cares? Celtics fans, who cares? Oh, I can't wait, please.
Kyrie's a loser.
I would say the opposite of a loser. I'd say he's moved on to the second round, and he's got two generationally talented Hall of Fame teammates to try and go deep in.
Great. Good for him.
Oh, by the way, for his childhood favorite team, too.
Yeah, of course.
Because he grew up a Nets fan out there in New Jersey. Yeah. Who didn't just fall head over heels in love with Drazen Petrovic and hope to be a Net one day?
There's a lot of salt coming from over that side of the studio.
Well, I don't blame you because,
man.
I mean, because Ainge is the one who did somehow Jedi mind trick the Sixers into taking Markelle Fultz and allowing him to just take Jason Tatum.
Why are you dragging me into this now? Like, I was on your side, like and you bring up something that hurts me.
Because it's not like Ainge is a total piker at this job. Okay, that there
he's
were
one of the best.
That there were teams that he built with Doc Rivers as the head coach.
Yeah,
I mean,
and the
there are banners in the TD Garden.
People in Boston are going to try to make it seem like, you know, Brad Stevens was a failure as head coach and Danny Ainge was a failure as general manager. Like, come on, I'm not here for that today.
They were not. They just didn't. Hang a banner.
They didn't win multiple championships like, you know, everyone had hoped. But the expectations in Boston are unrealistically high every single season. That's just the nature of being a coach and a GM on one of the most storied franchises in sports. That's comes with the territory.
So who do you want as your next head coach?
I want Brad Stevens as my next head coach.
You're not going to have him. And by the way, you know who's not coming? Coach K's not coming. You see all that right now? He's trending right now.
I don't want Coach.
Well, I mean, unless you know, at age 74, that's when he wants to leave the warm embrace of Duke University and try the NBA. 74 years of age.
I mean, I know 20 years ago to coach Kobe.
I know Tony La Russa came out of retirement to go into the dugout in the White Sox, but
I want someone who's on the young side. I want progressive, whether that's Becky Hammon or an African-American head coach in Boston. That's what I want to be the next head coach. I want someone who can tap into these young guys. There's a lot of reports about maybe they were tuning out Brad. Maybe there was some unhappiness in the locker room. Let's right that ship. We've got two amazing young talented players under the age of 25. Let's build around these guys.
Don't touch my coach in Michigan.
I would love to have your head coach. I do not want Jason Kidd, so people can stop tweeting me his name.
Why don't you want Jason Kidd?
Jason Kidd is not a good head coach.
Celtics totally up in the air. Who thought when they were strolling off that Barclays Center floor last night that this had to be in the works, obviously?
I think that Brad and Danny knew that was.
Of course they knew.
Obviously it was happening. It feels like
so the players
this has been
had
in
to
the
know
works
too.
for months.
Players had to know
like
too.
The players probably could read the writing on the wall.
No, they had to know.
On.
Come on. Look, everyone in this league talks. It's just that
but this didn't get out.
It did not.
No,
but in house, everyone had to know that Brad's thinking about it, or isn't the same, or something like that.
It feels like this is a vast overreaction to what has been an insane 2 seasons of basketball. The NBA jammed 2 whole years into one with the bubble last year, the restart, and then really forcing this season down everyone's throat with 4 games in 5 days and a 72 season. And it felt kind of rushed. Tatum gets COVID. Brown misses the rest of the year. And so it feels like it's a little bit of an overreaction. I don't know who they're going to get who's a better head coach than Brad Stevens to coach this team, but, my fingers are crossed.
Well, speaking on behalf of all New Yorkers to you up there in Boston with the Celtics, maybe you should get Kyrie out there to re-smudge the Garden. Because ever since, right, TJ, since he went to the Garden and smudged pre-pandemic, right? Since he did that, it all went right down the tubes.
It does see. I mean, look, I don't want to say.
Did Kyrie put the jinx up there?
I don't want to say he put the heebie-jeebie on him or anything, but
he might have put a stamp on it.
I mean,
Karma will come around.
He put a stamp on it?
He put his foot on it.
He did.
Sure.
He put his foot on it.
He put his foot in it.
Great.
All right, hold on a minute. Let me get my professionalism back.
Yeah, laugh it up.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.